have had the honor of being the first Muslim to be a judge in the United States or in Canada. And as a consequence, let me just kind of give you a little bit of my background because it was pretty much the background of someone who may not have in his early life aspired to such great heights. My family was from the South and migrated to Detroit for job opportunities. I was raised in public housing in Detroit, a place that had a historical connection with struggle. It was called the Sojourner Truth Homes. And one of the things about the Sojourner Truth Homes was that it was the first low-rise brick public housing built in America. When it was built, the community in Detroit was probably around 80% white, about 20% black. So some of the people in the Detroit government wanted to have it for those whites who were impoverished as well. And as a result, Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt came to Detroit, and we were assured that it would be housing for then we would call them Negroes. And that did not sit well. And so my family, which was the third family to move into that particular housing project, public housing, I was told years later, boy, you not know the project, this was our housing, by a lady when I came out to speak to a group of former residents in Sojourner Truth Homes. So basically it was a period in which various individuals like Paul Robeson and Coleman Young and other of Detroit's civil rights community, young trade unionists, Harold and Esther Shapiro and several others who marched to ensure that that property would be housing for the people it would built, it was built for. And of course, there were those who didn't necessarily agree, and so they would come into the community with their rifles, and the men living there would stand guard to make sure no one was killed. That was around 1943. My parents told me more about it, and of course my sister was the only one of us who was born at that time. And so it kind of was a struggle during those early years. But both of my parents were very instrumental in always connecting us with our roots and connecting us with our history. They prized education, and as a consequence, we always tried to do our best. As long as we did our best, that was good enough, but we could always improve. So they were not as, shall we say, angered at sometimes the inability to get A's, but worked with us in ways that allowed us to learn better ways of studying. My mother was a college graduate, and she graduated from West Virginia State College in 1934. And my dad was a tradesman, although he didn't have the opportunity to go into college. But he was a hard-working individual. He came to Detroit for employment purposes and was very successful in keeping a job and raising his family. So from that point of reference, as a young man, I became active in civil rights organizations and became active in various movements in the labor area. I worked as was a union steward with a construction trades local that was a black construction trades local in response to the AFL-CIO's prohibition in certain trades for blacks to be skilled tradesmen. So I had a kind of activist background. And later that led me to then go into law because I saw how injustice could be fought against in a way that was a manner of speaking more intelligently and with better results when someone knew the law and was able to apply it significantly. And as a consequence of that effort and in those periods of years, I became attracted to the calmness that I saw many of the Muslims have in the struggle that was going on. Not so much emotional up and down, but a certain sense of calmness, but a determination to right injustice and wrong. I converted to Islam, or reverted, I like to say, because when I trace my family history, my family were originally Muslims from the area of the Cameroons, West Africa. And so I reverted to Islam in 1969, and when the late leader Muhammad Muhammad took over the Nation of Islam, I joined with that group of Muslims and began my journey of getting greater education in the religion and continued my activism in efforts. But throughout the years, I've attributed much of my drive and motivation to fighting against injustice. I've had an opportunity of creating a pretty good name in and around the Detroit area. As a lawyer, I took on the governor, and I might add, a governor who later appointed me, the first Muslim judge, William Milliken, for the wrongs that the Muslim inmates in the correctional system in Michigan were suffering when they could not have their own chaplains of the Islamic faith, where they were denied dietary practices, denied the opportunity of fasting from the holy month of Ramadan. And as a consequence of that, we took that case into the federal courts. I got the magistrate who was assigned to all the discovery issues go out to the prison in Michigan known as Jackson Prison and observe firsthand what was going on. Had evidentiary hearings with some of the supervisors and guards there, and in a blistering report in terms of the discovery and its findings to the sitting judge, the laws as it relates to what is the practice in Michigan that was discriminatory toward Muslims was changed. And the first Muslim chaplain was hired by the Corrections Department, a gentleman by the name of Imam Mardini. And there were many other episodes where we challenged. The mosque in Detroit was cited for violating noise violations when the adhan, the call to prayer, was done. And of course, we represented the mosque and were able to have the judge see that that's just like having a home by a train station and having the noise of trains. You selected the home, in addition to the fact that that is a part of our religion and it interferes with the freedom of religion. So the judge did find that violation was not a violation, but an exercise of a constitutional right. And in consequence of that, The city did not appeal, and that's been the law ever since in the state of Michigan. So in regards to the struggle and the fight to make some things better for people, that's why I chose law. And in the course of events, the governor was not, I guess, angered at it, but in considering an appointment to a court then known as the Wayne County Common Pleas Court, a vacancy arose, and I got a call from his office asking would I be willing to accept the governor's appointment. I said, let me think about it, and I called him back and said, yes, I would, because I had partners. We were an activist law firm. One of my partners is the late mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, Chauvet Lumumba, who was an activist for a number of years and died a couple of years back. And so they appointed me, and I took the bench on February 2nd of 1981. In searching the records and asking others in Michigan and elsewhere, what other Muslim judges might I be able to connect with and see how it was, because, you know, even the swearing-in ceremony, they had the Bible. And the chief judge was telling me I had to have the Bible in my swearing-in. While I respect the Bible as a great holy book, I said I'm Muslim, I want the Quran. And so he said, well, we've never done that before, Adam. And I said, well, there's always a first time, sir. And I found no other person who in the Muslim community of the various different ethnic groups that could give me anyone. We had a number of Arab judges. One Judge Bashara, who was on the Court of Appeals. I asked Judge Bashara, and he was from, he was born in America, but his mother was Lebanese. He said, Adam, I really don't know of any. And he said, just put it out there and the newspapers will pick it up and let's see. And he said that as far as I know, you're the first. So I put it out there, and no one ever said anything different except you are the first to confirm it. And the board has checked. They could find no one else. If there were any others, they either were not acknowledging their faith, or if there were any others, they may have converted to another faith, but they were not attesting to their Islamic faith. I know I am what I am as a result of my experiences, but the fact that I have achieved some things and am still here have a great deal to do with my faith. Because were it not for the calmness that Islam gave me during a very tumultuous period, as some of you may have read or may have lived, during the 1960s, the riots and some of the issues, marches and getting beaten and all of those things that did occur. I was in the thick of it in the Detroit area principally, and so not taking any negative from it, but learning from it and growing from it. I think it was a fundamental part of my being a Muslim that allowed me to keep the calmness and to move forward. Because one thing life shows you is that challenges are many, but you can never withdraw from the fight for right and justice. And as a consequence, that has been major mantra, that I'll fight for justice. My colleagues on the bench after my appointment got a feel for what that was, and in the process, they didn't really know, because I had people that had impressions of who Muslims were, and being African American, and they knew something of my civil rights background. Some of them said, is he one of those militants gonna burn the courthouse down or something happens? Of course, no, and they saw by my actions, they saw that that wasn't my particular modus operandi. That's not how I did things. I met with people, I point out things that could be done better, and work with them to make them better. And I'd say probably about 1983, 2 years after I assumed the title of judge, the court merged with another court and became the 36th District Court of the city of Detroit.